the orientation for the Advanced Grant Development Proposal Writing Certificate. I am Cindy Thiede, the Director for Professional Development Education at the Lodestar Center, and this is George Nunez. Welcome. We have a couple participants here, so welcome to the orientation. I would like to introduce George, who is our instructor. George, would you give us some of your background, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Cindy, for inviting me here today. Thanks for asking me to be the instructor for the course.
Yes.
I love the content that we have here, and I think that the students will make amazing leaps in their growth through taking this course. But let me answer your question directly. So who am I? So what I would like everyone to know about me is that right now I work as a freelance consultant in both grant writing, fundraising in general, board governance, and in nonprofit program management. And this comes after many years of working for organizations, one at a time. And throughout that time, I primarily worked in the arts. I have worked for art museum, a city arts council, a dance company, a theater company, and oddly enough, right now, most of my clients are not arts related, which has given me a new lease on learning new things. So where did all this come from? So I have an undergraduate degree in dance and a master's degree in arts administration. And since then, I've also gone on to, in my own professional development, like the course we're doing here, I have a certificate I am a certified advisor in philanthropy. And what that means is that I am chartered as somebody who can provide guidance about estate planning. So that's an area of specialty that means a lot to me right now. I keep up my own skills through professional memberships, Grant Professionals Association, which we'll talk a lot about in the course, through the Association of Fundraising Professionals, and here locally in Phoenix, I'm a member of the Plan Giving Roundtable. I'll wrap up this part by saying that my skills in grant writing have come from being on both sides. I have been a successful grant seeker at the local, state, federal, and private foundation level. I have been an unsuccessful seeker of funding from those entities, and we will all be in that place at some point in our grant writing careers. And I have also been an administrator of grant funding programs, and finally, I've served as a volunteer on grant review panels for state, federal, and private foundations.
Okay, perfect.
That's who I am.
Thanks, George. So what exactly is the purpose of this certificate? This certificate will take place via our ASU Canvas learning management system. And what that is, that's our online system. And you will be doing the entire certificate online and going into Canvas. So if you have any questions on that, there are tutorials in there that will help you learn on Canvas, and I will be going into later where you can get help on that. Depending on your background, you should take approximately 12 to 15 hours a week, depending on the week also, to do your coursework. The Advanced Grant Certificate focuses on the federal course. So you will be writing a federal proposal. So it's strictly working on the federal grants. You'll be delving into more complicated world of applying the context of proven or innovative new solutions. And you will be looking at federal funding programs and all of the world of the federal environment. Each week you will be writing a portion of your grant, and so you'll be working on all the different sections of the federal grant. You'll be required to grasp each portion of your proposal application in order to move on. So you will finally be working on the actual federal proposal itself and submitting a federal package, the federal proposal at the very end. So this is competency-based, and so what does that mean? This is not information gathering course. You'll be required to show competency in each portion of the grant proposal that you're writing and actually write the grant proposal. So each different portion of the grant application builds upon each section. So you need to have competency in that section before you move on to the next section. So George will be giving you feedback, extensive feedback on each portion of that grant, and you will be required to incorporate that feedback in order to move on to the next section of the grant. So the grant will not make sense if you're not mastering the competencies of those sections. So that's what we mean by competency based. Anything you want to add on that?
No, I think that covers everything about how we understand competency based,
Okay.
and what we're able to offer and what we expect.
Okay. So George, tell us some of the reasons for enrolling and what can you expect to get out of the class in general?
Sure. So what I believe that is important to understand at the outset is some broad goals about what we'll be covering, rather than getting into sort of the minute grant writing details. So in general, you will come across these terms that we're covering throughout the course. How to get ready to write a grant proposal to a federal agency, finding funding, which means which agency is a match for the project you have, understanding funders, because each federal agency has its own culture, its own priorities, its own funding, its own mandates from the federal government, and its own systems of accountability. Ethical practices, because we as professional grant writers hew to our code of professionalism and professional ethics. And I know that we all strive in our professional work to uphold the values that we probably also hold as people in general. How to build an internal grant writing team and a process. Federal proposals are complicated beasts, and no one person is likely to have all of the information that is needed to prepare a successful proposal. Then, of course, writing the actual proposal, and as Cindy, as you said, each week there will be assignments that people will tackle a certain section of the federal proposal. Logic models and other information gathering, analysis, and planning tools are incorporated into the federal logic and the federal process. Evaluation is extremely important to building a case for funding from a federal agency, partially because the competition is so intense for federal dollars across the country. Budgets, of course, we have to have an understanding of the numbers that underpin our proposals. And then finally, is your organization ready to manage a federal proposal and all the requirements of reporting that come afterwards? Let's see. I should also mention the course designers have prepared a wonderful mock RFP, a mock request for proposal, which I will use the word mimic. I could use other words. It mimics both the structure, the logic, the content, and requirements of a federal proposal. Would you say that's a good way to describe it?
Exactly. It is an actual RFP that we have stripped out the actual names of the RFP, the funding agency that you can use.
Yes. So it could be. So it is a general proposal, I guess we could say, and the student can use it to target the Environmental Protection Agency or the Department of Labor.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's it. So I think that's great. So the other thing that having this proposal on hand afterwards is that sometimes you may have an opportunity come up at the last minute and you need to have something ready to go. And having this, create this template, if you will, allows you to respond quickly to new opportunities.
Right. So the benefit of completing this certificate is that once you've completed your grant proposal, you will have an in-depth knowledge of every aspect of your organization's program, and that you will have this template ready for future grant opportunities. And you will also know how to manage grants.
Yep.
And have the overall confidence to secure grant opportunity fundings in the future.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Wonderful. So George, can you give us some basic housekeeping tips and tricks?
Sure. Sure. So Cindy, you've already described the Canvas platform, and everyone, that is the platform that we will use. I really like the Canvas platform. I find it easy to use, and I find it easy to get help when I don't understand something. And that is a help in our learning process. So each week we'll have similarities and it will have differences. So each week will be a combination of activities, of online discussions, written assignment, and there will be various deadlines during the week. Typically there are 2 deadlines per week, one midweek, one on Sunday, but there may be some weeks where there are more deadlines than that, just depending on the content.
Right.
What I would advise everyone, having taught this course before, is that at the beginning of the week, when you have access to the content on Monday, go in and do 3 things. Look at the activities. See what readings you will have to do, what videos you will have to watch, and what other elements are new to you that week. Second is the area of discussion. Look at the week's discussion topic. Find out which day your post in response to the discussion post is due. And then finally, look at the information and instructions about the written proposal. Find out which day they're due. I'll explain that a little bit. So you may see in the instructions that the assignment's due on day 4. So day 4 is going to be Thursday. So just start counting from Monday if you happen to see that something is due. They are always, I can say, due by 11:59 p.m.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, the Canvas system adjusts for 11:59 p.m.
Yeah. Okay. So George, let's talk about the discussion forums. Explain about engaging in online discussions and discussion forums.
Sure. I value what I have learned from past course participants in the discussion forum. And I would say that I have learned equally as much through those conversations as I have from the written material and the videos. So I can't encourage you enough to participate in this, and it's a requirement. It's not just an encouragement, it's a requirement, and it's graded. So the ASU Lodestar Center builds upon its community of learners so that you as learners build relationships for your professional future. Relationship with Cindy, you have a relationship with me, and you have the relationship that you will have with each other when you might have a question in the future. And I will say that if you really want to get the most out of this certificate and have the richest and fullest experience, it will come through engaging in the discussions.
Correct.
You're going to get feedback from other participants, and you'll get feedback from me. I am not all-knowing. I wish I were all-knowing, but I'm not all-knowing. And so that's why I love because other eyes see other things.
Right.
And that's what the discussion forum allows you to do. In 2 of the weeks of the course, we will actually have a peer review section in which we will pair each participant with another participant to exchange assignments, that you have written and then get feedback from them.
Right.
And this gives you another perspective. And, you know, Cindy, what I really like about Lodestar's choosing to incorporate this is it replicates the grant team process
Right.
that's going to happen in an organization. Your finance person is going to tell you something different than your program person is going to do because they have different perspectives,
right.
different needs, and expectations.
Well, and typically you're not writing a grant by yourself. You're usually writing this in a team.
Yes, exactly. And so that's why the discussion, the peer review assignments are so important to do.
Right, exactly. And that's why we were doing it.
Yeah.
So, George, being self-directed, what does that mean?
Sure. So, in terms of being self-directed, it really talks about the approach that ASU Lodestar takes with this course. So this is not a lecture class where you will log onto your computer and you will live watch me tell you what you need to know about the course. That's
right.
that is not the philosophy behind the success of this course.
Right.
So what we do in this course is that you, as the learner, have to master the content independently. You are guided by the instructions. You're guided by the introductions to the material. And you have the opportunity to do a series of things. You can plan ahead. You can observe the deadlines. You can ask questions of others. And you can give answers to others. I will give feedback on assignments. And, but being self-directed means you need to take the responsibility for learning the material and inferring what is meant in instructions and in intent of the content.
And George is going to help you in as much as possible by giving you as much feedback as possible and assisting you in as many ways as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's part of why I'm doing this, because I enjoy helping people find their way and becoming independent learners and independent grant writers.
Right. So, George, what can students expect from each module? What are you covering every week?
Sure, yes. So this is, Cindy, you may recall, I have called what we offer an embarrassment of riches. It really is an embarrassment of riches because the course designers have included readings, videos from multiple sources across the country, writing assignments, discussion assignments, and equally important, time for reflection is built into each week because it's rigorous. I won't sugarcoat that this is a rigorous course.
Very much so.
But even within making sure every detail is covered, the grant writer needs to be able to step back in the process and reflect on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important, and it helps you to not fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cindy, as you mentioned, this is a step-by-step process. It's an accretion of information.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with a section of the grant proposal, and then each week we add, in whatever direction you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But each week we add till at the very end, we have a completed proposal.
Right. So every week you share with them at the beginning in your announcement.
Yeah.
Tell them about that.
Sure. So every week I record a video that is usually maybe 3 minutes long. It is not comprehensive. But what I do in it is I pull out some highlights for the week. I want to make sure that you don't miss. Mm-hmm. It's not a substitute for reading the instructions, but it is also a chance to take in the written information in another way, because you may take in those instructions better by hearing. And so that what we do is, after I post that video, I also post the script in the virtual office forum. So you can hear it, you can read it, and you can go back to those things at any point during the week to say, okay, what was that point he made there?
So you mentioned the virtual office forum. What exactly is that? So how do students use that? What is that?
So the virtual office forum is our gathering place online within Canvas. It's a place to post questions for me. There you go.
There we go. There. I'm Cindy Thede, the Director for Professional Development Education. This is Georgie Eunice, our instructor. We've already gone through a lot of this, and we're going to upload the entire orientation. We're going to go back and just reiterate a few things. George, why don't you cover what you think should be quickly covered?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So we encourage you after this webinar to go back. You can watch everything that we talked about from the beginning, and will all be available online. And I will reference it when I do my first weekly post as well. So a couple of things. First to talk about is that this is a competency-based course. It is not an information gathering course. Each student is required to show competency of having mastered each section of a grant proposal that will be written throughout the course. And by the end of the course, each student will have written a usable, hopefully, federal grant proposal. And each week we will tackle a different section, and at the end of the week, the student will submit that, and I will then provide feedback that you can use to hopefully make improvements in that section before you can include it in your final section. Each week is a building block, and the proposal builds on itself. Some things that we are specifically going to be working on each week is that our goal is that by the end, you will have an in-depth knowledge of every aspect of your organization's program. From operations, finance, from your other stakeholders, you'll be bringing them all together, and the proposal that you will develop by the end is a template for future grant opportunities. And what's really great is that the organization becomes more prepared to respond to opportunities. Each week, we have a set of learning types that we do. So it has a combination of activities, discussion, written assignments, and deadlines. So in each week's activities, so on Mondays, on the first day, look at the particulars of the activities, which include videos, readings, and other elements. Look at the discussion topic and the deadline for that, the written assignment, and the proposal section. Plan out your week so that you can get everything done by Sunday. Part of what we're doing here is talking about the discussion forum.
Yeah, go ahead.
So every week you will be participating in discussions about course content. In 2 of those weeks, you will be actually paired with another participant to give feedback about your work. And that is as important in learning the grant writing process and working in a team as it is accepting and incorporating feedback from an instructor.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the virtual office forum?
Yes, so the virtual office forum is where we gather online. And it is, all the students have access to it. The ASU Lodestar administrative staff have access to it. I have access to it. It's the place to ask questions for the course. And I ask all the learners, if you have a question, post it in the discussion forum. because it will likely help all the other participants.
The virtual office.
In the virtual office forum, yeah. Post it in the virtual office forum. I will answer it there. And if you and I need to follow up privately, we can do that. But it's likely that if you have a question, somebody else might have it too. It's where we can stay in place, stay in touch, and where we can share information about things that are going on in the course, as well as the content.
So why don't you talk about what you do in your announcements every week?
Okay, sure. So every week, by the time you log in on Monday, I will have recorded about a 3-minute video. It's not a lecture. It's not comprehensive. It's merely a selection of highlights of things that I have found interesting or especially worth noting in the course. It might be, I might pull out a section of one of the readings from our textbook. I might pull out some other things that are from other things that are in the videos. So I encourage you to do it. It gives you an opportunity for you and me to connect in a different way. I also post the script for that video each week as well, so that if you prefer to read my thoughts on that week course, you've got the text of about a 3-minute video.
Okay. So let's talk about who to contact for technical help.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if you're having technical help, not content help, the ASU help site is my.asu.edu, and click on the service tab. And then try help desk reporting problems, and there's a phone number. It's 480-965-6500 or 855-278-5080, and that's the US hotline. And so if you're having any technical help or issues, contact the ASU help sites. And if you're not able to resolve any technical issues after contacting the help desk, then contact Cassandra, who you just were contacting, or Julie Huffman, who is the program manager, and they will be your next line of support. George is not your technical person. He's your content person. Okay, so who to contact for questions about assignments and anything with instruction, that's George.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's on the virtual office forum.
Right. Okay. So any additional questions that we had, these are live questions that we had before from our last advanced grant class. Are students able to choose which types of grants they write for this program? And the answer is, George?
Absolutely yes. We want this is focused on delivering something that's usable for you. So if you want to apply for a capacity building grant or a program grant, absolutely your choice.
Okay. And students have wondered, can we share our contact information? Well,
yes. So 2 places you can do that: the virtual office forum. We don't ask you to share your contact information, but if you want to share your any email or your phone numbers, please do it on the virtual office forum. And then also there is a we will do an introductions exercise in the first week, where you talk about yourself so that we know a little bit about you. You could include it there as well.
Okay. I'm using an organization for this course that I haven't previously worked with before. Where would I go to find information about it?
Okay, so there are 4 ways to approach this issue. And I will, and it's absolutely, we've had students who are not, who haven't, don't have an organization that they're working with, and you really can still participate fully in that. And here are some ways that you can do that. All organizations have to publish a 990 which is federally available. You can find it at guidestar.org. And that's guidestar.org. And you can find all of that information about their finances, who's on their board, how their fundraising is done, that kind of information. You can also utilize the organization's website because much information about programming is available there to the public. You can learn about it. You can also contact the organization directly and say, I am working on a grant proposal for a course and I would like to use your organization. Is there somebody who can help me gather information? And the answer will be yes or no based on that organization's capacity to help people, but we have seen organizations help. And of course, you can have personal knowledge because you've either volunteered or worked somewhere in the past. And then the final one I will say is you can find an organization that is similar to one that you are working for. So one that comes to the top of my head, if you're an environmental organization and you're looking for some best practices about programming and how things are done, pick a national or international organization that you respect. One that comes to the top of my head is the Nature Conservancy. They're one of our largest nonprofits. They have a wealth of information online. So those are 4 ways that you can participate fully in the course without working currently at an organization.
Okay. So that's it. Questions? I don't see any questions.
Does anybody have any questions now that you've had, we've shared this information with you? We're happy to answer questions live now or after the course, after we record this.
So I have a question.
Okay.
So, so I was in the previous grant writing class, and I think I read briefly on this course's description that we can maybe use some of the same project or the information from the last class.
Yes.
So,
is this Rebecca?
Yeah.
Yes,
sorry.
absolutely. Yeah. Hi, Rebecca. I'm so glad that you're back taking this course. Thank you for signing up. And absolutely, you can move seamlessly from what we covered in the state and foundation program into this proposal. What it would require is finding a federal agency that funds what your project is. And that's part of what we will do in week 1 is where do we go to find out where the opportunities are. But absolutely, use what you've got.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, we will be saving this and uploading it to Canvas, and you can review this at your leisure. And otherwise, we will see you in the class, right, George?
Absolutely. I will be online checking everything on Monday morning. And I should just say that I do my best to respond to questions within 24 hours. So sometimes I happen to be there and I can respond more quickly, but I promise that I'll always get back to you within 24 hours.
Okay. Thank you, George.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck.